gigs RAM. And I tried to install Endeavour without swap. And this machine, the IdeaPad, it didn't go into out of hibernation very well. My ThinkPad doesn't have a problem with it. So on the single RAM, 16 gigs of RAM, I really need a hibernation. So it's hardware dependent.
Yeah, so I agree with that perfectly. And if you were buying obviously new hardware today, any recommendations in terms of processor, what type of processor to get? I mean, I myself am looking to get a machine. I'm on AMD at the moment, but I'm on a processor that's obviously over 10 years old, and obviously is now starting to show its age. So if I moved up to anything that's going to last me another 10 years or so, any recommendations for processor? Because I don't think RAM is very important these days, is it? Because generally most new machines that you buy tends to start with 16 lower end, I think.
I don't think CPU is any CPU will run on Linux. I think the graphics card is the one. I think if you're going for NVIDIA, it's a lot of work.
Yeah, don't buy NVIDIA.
Yeah. Don't buy NVIDIA. Stick with AMD, yes, I'll do that.
Mr. Torvalds said it already.
Yeah. How much? Yeah, I mean, I've seen some graphics cards that are like nearly £1,000. It's like, how on earth can people justify investing that amount of money in graphics? But they must be serious gamers. That's all I can say, to have graphics cards like that. I'm not a gamer myself. I'm just a standard desktop user. But what is important to me, in particular, is RAM. And I think if I don't have... Well, 8 is fine, but 8 cuts it as a bare minimum for me. So if I'm installing your distribution, then 8 to me is my minimal requirements, and I won't install it on anything else but 8 gigs or more, basically. So that's good to know, because it works perfectly fine straight out of the box. Well, I mean, you've answered all the questions. I'll just quickly check to see if there's any more coming in via the chat. First of all, I think probably I just need, if anybody's still there, I just need to ask the chat, have we actually been on air? Because we've been doing a great conversation so far, and it looks like we're actually live, but I think we're live.
Yeah, now, yes. Like 2 minutes ago, I see on the YouTube that the image comes off.
Okay, all right. Well, I don't know what's going on there.
Could be that we are live like 2 minutes ago, huh? Before it show nothing.
Oh, that's strange. Very, very strange. Oops. Well, hopefully there's a recording happening, because it does actually show that it's working my side here. Oh, thank you, Mr. Green. Yeah, we're live now. Oh, surprised nobody highlighted that to me at an earlier stage. But perfect, it looks like. So apologies, anybody watching us on YouTube right now that have been holding there for a considerable time, if we have had issues there. But there will be a recording available, obviously, after the session here. So let's now look in terms of how you use Endeavour. Obviously, Joe, I think I can tell you, obviously you are a developer, so how is it for you to have databases and like VS Code and stuff like that running on your distribution? How easy is it for developers that are just normal web developers to use your distribution?
I mean, in the end, it's the same like using Arch. It's more easy to install, and yes, all the tools are available. And if they are not in the official repos, you got them over the AOR. So, and on the Telegram chat, there are a lot of like these kinds of developers, and they are very, very happy with the way they can use it. And myself, I don't use like special tools. I mostly use Nano for editing, Oxet, XED, I don't know how to call it, graphical editor, because I don't like this advanced tools like this code. I don't use it. I have it installed, and also sometimes, especially like if you want to edit stuff like YAML files and stuff like this, can come in handy because they have a better highlighting. But like some days ago, they have it for Nano also, so you can install the package, and you have in Nano you have the same highlighting.
Perfect, thank you. Brian, obviously, I know you've said you use Fedora for work, which obviously uses DNF as its package manager. In terms of Endeavour, is it more of a hobby-based distribution for you to use on your personal device, or do you actually use it to daily drive or anything work-wise?
No, it's actually more for hobby, and also my private daily driver is Endeavour, because I like Arch better than Fedora, but Fedora is easier for my coworkers to deal with, because if I would introduce Endeavour, I think I would go mad. I mean, then it's sort of, the dock isn't working, and Zoom isn't working, and it's too much work for me to handle all those computers for them. So Fedora is a bit more friendlier, user friendlier for them. I'm not saying for everyone, but for them. But like Joe, I mainly use Nano, and at the moment I am working. Yes, Joe, I'm still working on it for the website for GitHub. So I'm working with Jekyll and Electron. So yeah, those are the main languages I work with, and also a little bit of Python.
And Python is that quite easy to code or use in Arch?
Well, I'm not a I'm not a star in coding, so I make a lot of mistakes, and I swear and cuss a lot when I when I do it. I mean, one time I even I don't know, Joe wasn't there. I think it was a year ago or something, and we had to publish the ISO, and nobody could do it because Manuel was busy. No, Manuel had a technical issue, and Joe wasn't there, and I couldn't reach Fernando, who back then still was in our team. So I had to do it all on my own, and I was nearly on the brink of throwing my ThinkPad out of the window. But I managed. I don't know. I still don't know how I did it, but I managed. So don't ask me if Python is easy, because I'm not a good coder in that respect.
Yeah, I'm very, very similar to you there, Brian. I can think of straight away a similar occurrence that happened to me, I don't know, about 5 or 6 years ago. And although I was a system administrator, although I maintain systems on a regular basis, that generally I do through browsers, because I just make a request through the browser, and then it goes off to the server, and the server does the processing and everything else. But obviously there's code behind it that makes a particular command work, and I kind of, well, I knew what the setup of the application was. But one time somebody put a request through to have, I don't know, maybe some copy changed, and I'd open up the configuration file, see where the copy is, but then I put in a semicolon rather than a colon, or a comma, or a single, just one simple character can throw an entire application out the window. That's what frightens me, and that's why today I am not a web developer or an application developer. I will say I'm just the end user at the end of the day. But I am grateful that I obviously able to use applications in the way that we do, particularly nowadays through our phones and our iPads, etc. So I'm very grateful of the amount of hard work that goes into the coding the application, and even you guys with your distribution as well, for the end user, because we can kind of sit tight and know that whatever we're trying to do with that product, it just works, and we haven't got to worry about what's going on behind the scenes. But I'm always very, very careful now, and I've made this mistake numerous times where you have a problem, you Google it, and somebody says, oh, this worked for me, I'll do this works, and you run the command and you can brick it. The whole thing just stops working, and you're like, ah.
Yeah.
And then you think, right, there has to be some reason why that happened, and you can't sort of undo it. And yeah, I don't know. But any recommendations for backup processes, perhaps, on Endeavour, like, I don't know, using Timeshift or something like that to help users feel comfortable that if they do something wrong, they can roll back?
I personally use Timeshift, and I also use Deja Dip, I think it is, for the main thing, but Timeshift just for quick turn back. What are you using, Joe?
None of them. I mainly use scripts for making backups, like async and stuff like this. But also, the only stuff I back up is personal stuff, like pictures and videos and documents. I never back up my system because it's Arch. So if it doesn't run, I have an USB stick or a second install, so I can fix it from the back.
And
or over SSR. So.
And even now, my own personal habits have changed in that I now, with any distribution that I use, I know that I'm going to need to reinstall it at some stage or overwrite it with something else. So all of my personal files that go into videos, pictures, etc., I know to back those up, but I will back them up to a secondary hard disk. I will do that, and then when the next distribution comes along, I can just access the files straight away. So no real need for me to constantly have the home folder, the home setup, the home user be constantly backing up. But Timeshift is something that I have started using, and am fairly confident now. I've seen Tyler's tech tip show it as well, in the sense that you do an update and it makes a restore point, and so long as you can get back into the OS, you can load up Timeshift and actually just roll back to the last point that's there. And I think that works brilliantly, and that's what I've started doing now. And so far, so good. Touch wood, no issues so far. But with your distribution, I have no issues. So I'm fairly confident that I either have to use Timeshift or some sort of backup facility, or nothing at all, because my habits are different to everybody else's. I will make sure that all of my personal files stay personal on a secondary device, or on a USB stick, for example. And I'm regularly backing up now, because I'm always consciously aware of mistakes I've made in the past. And to any new users coming to your distribution, I say to them, make sure you regularly back up. It's the same with Windows as well, or even Mac OS. Anybody using those OSs, they should be having habits where weekly, monthly, they just grab their files and back it up. I'm a lover of
fails, huh?
Yeah, exactly, and I'm a lover of it backed up in three places, so you can have it as cloud, obviously on a USB stick, and then on a secondary hard disk, and then have these like hard drives or USB sticks in two different places. It's like I take one to work with me every day. That way, if I have to boot into Linux, I've got a Ventoy install on one of my USB sticks, and I can straight away just boot into Endeavour OS, and it loads. It works straight away, and then personal files I get from the cloud when I need it. So I use myself personally. I've got the free plan on pCloud, and there you get I think it's 2 gigabytes of free space if you're on their free plan. And yeah, I mean, it syncs perfectly fine. You can get a tool to actually sync it with the OS, and it works. You just drag and drop your files, and it's there. Same way I used to do with Dropbox many years ago. Dropbox, to me now, is a thing of the past. I just don't touch it anymore. I don't know. I don't know if it's reputation or just the fact that I don't use it in my workplace now that this stopped me using it. I just don't use it. And I'm always reliant now on sending big files via like WeTransfer, for example, or just use a tool like that. It'd be really, really, really useful if somebody out there actually creates an app that works with WeTransfer, so you don't have to keep logging into their website all the time. And most probably would say just create an ICE app. Just use ICE and just create a web-based app that you can just from the start menu just go start, and there it is, because it's web-based. But it would be good to see if they did at some stage produce an app for that, which is on my wish list. Do that. So the next release, obviously, we're going to see that as and when you guys are ready. Anything you want to share with the users? There's sort of any new features perhaps coming our way?
Yes, maybe. For the community editions, there will be we will use a different implementation on the installer, because users have an issue where they choose the two we have in installing them together, and then the configurations doesn't work good together. So now with the next release, you can only install one of the community editions, and we hopefully will get more in. So not only Sway and BSPWM, maybe Qtile or something else. Also possible to have the same in different flavors. This will be the new thing on the ISO, and mostly updates.
Sounds great. Sounds great. I look forward to that. And one thing I've obviously seen you introduce over the last couple of releases is obviously more of the window managers, for example. I've tried i3. I don't know. There's something about i3. I just can't get my head around i3 just yet. And I think it's probably because I've got to learn a whole new set of keyboard commands, for example, because I'm quite a heavy mouse user.
Still has a mouse, huh?
Yeah. All these mice. But I've used your distribution on the latest GNOME 40 build, and it works okay. But I still feel that perhaps I'm not ready for the new updates to GNOME, because the whole UI you got to start using gestures and all sorts now. It just doesn't work for my workflow. So I obviously I'm going to start here, but I would say that my top desktop environment with any distribution is XFCE. And I am very, very pleased that I'm able to boot into your distribution and it's XFCE. It just works offline, straight out of the box, perfect. And then when I go to install, I can choose the online version, and I can then choose which other desktop environment I like. So what I've done with this update is obviously I've just put Plasma on top of your XFCE, but I boot into 2. So whatever mood I feel like one day, I might choose that I feel like using XFCE today. I'll boot into XFCE. But today I'm using Plasma because I want to check out the latest version of Plasma. And I'm pleased to see when all these updates happen that when the KDE team do release an update, that the Arch team pretty much get it out there in 2 or 3 days. and then I do the standard update for commands in the terminal, and I can pull it straight down and it installs perfect, no problems at all. So XFCE, my primary desktop environment. What's yours, Brian?
It's Plasma. It used to be GNOME, but on Fedora I do use GNOME, but I do like Plasma better at this moment. Like you, I don't like the new the GNOME 40, and I don't like it. It's not my. I use it on a daily basis, but I really have to think. I don't know why. I honestly don't know why. But when I want to open things or go to my other desktop, then I don't know. There's something holding me back for 1.5 seconds, and then I think, oh yeah, it's that, and it's almost. Well, I think it's 6 months or so that I'm using it, and I still have trouble with it. So Plasma all the way for me.
Yeah, and Plasma, I've noticed it's come a long way in the last 2 years. They're doing a really good job of it, and Plasma's usable now. It really is usable.
Yeah.
And I'm very, very pleased that the KDE team are doing what they're doing with that, and that other distributions are able to step in on that and actually use KDE as one of its environments. Solus, for example, I didn't expect Solus to offer a spin on KDE, but you load that and it just works. It's just brilliant straight out of the box. And then there's other distributions as well that use KDE as its blanket window manager desktop environment, but it's on an older version, so when you start to use it you think, why is this not working, and why is it running a bit slow? So it's proof when you compare older versions to the latest version how much stable it is now in the 5.2.2 build, and it makes me feel more comfortable now using Plasma. Plus I like the effects as well. Show somebody a wobbly window, they're like, wow. Joe, what's your favourite?
No windows, no wobbling.
No wobbling.
I don't like floating windows at all. Yeah. On my main desktop, I'm using E3 for years now. Before I was also a GNOME user for up from the 90s, from the startup. Always using GNOME, but the latest version I can't use it. It's like curtains. It's always this very strange interface I can't work with. E3. I also don't use E3 like you would think of. I use it like with all Windows full screen. So it goes completely in the background. So in the end, I don't use any. I have my apps open and yes. Menu is Rofi, and E3 handles the windows, nothing else.
Perfect, nice and clean.
But XFCE also. For when I'm working on the ISO, I'm mainly using XFCE.
Yeah, and I think there's is there a test build out right now for 4.18, 4.19? I can't.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm yet to find where I can grab that. So, but I know the guys at the XFCE dev team, so I can. I'm sure I'll get a test link out of them.
I think they have Docker images for it. You can
Docker,
download and stuff like that.
Yeah, perfect. So let me obviously just, this is something that well, in fact, I suppose feel quite nervy about asking you guys, but I would ask it anyway. Testers. Obviously, we have the community out there. Is there a way for us to join your list and sort of test your ISO before release day and give you some feedback on it? You know, that sort of thing. Do you have a test cycle?
It will be in the future, in the near future. It will be.
Yeah, currently the moderators from the forum doing most of the testings, and we on our own. Yes, but it would be very nice to have more people in, but you always need like to find a way how to organize it. Because if you have it open for everyone, then people download it, and if there are issues, then everybody have the issue. So testing needs to be a bit closed up from the public.
And that's something that I've noticed about your release cycle, is that you don't release betas, which is
No.
which is right for you, I think. And whenever you announce the new release, I'm comfortably confident that it will be a stable working ISO, and I have no issues, which is why I love Endeavour so much, which is credit to you guys, I must say. Well, thank you, gentlemen, for your time here today. But before we close off, let's ask in 3 words. Actually, no. Let's do that in a moment. Let's first of all, when did you first start using Linux, Brian? What was your first experience of Linux?
My first experience was Ubuntu, and from the thing is with Linux, it's from the first day on, I stayed on. I think I used every distro on the that's available over there, but it makes you distro hop. I mean, I don't know what it is, but there's this there's this feeling of jumping from, oh, okay, let's try that one. But the longest I was before I went to Untitled, that was Voyager OS, XFCE based, and I really liked that one until I landed on Arch, on Tergos actually, and when I did that, I never looked back.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think I personally myself, I've started out using Ubuntu. I think it was version 8 at the time, long time ago now when you think about it. The probably for me, reasons for moving away from Ubuntu was probably eagerness and the I don't know, I suppose it must have been questionable for me to think, well, what else is out there? So lots of people were talking about Arch, and I tried using the Arch ISO, and because it came up with the command line and sort of nothing else, I was like pretty scared actually to use it, because it's a terminal based distro, and for me that's just like, I don't know, it just feels nervy about doing things wrong to break it, and all the commands and stuff. And plus I wasn't quite familiar with the whole sudo pacman syus and everything else that you do with nowadays. So I believe in GUIs for a lot of what I do. If I have to do anything in the terminal, I've got to know what I'm doing, definitely. And then I moved on to trying out other distributions, but when you look at what they're based on, it's all either Debian or Ubuntu. And the one thing I dislike about Debian is the fact that as stable as it is, I still feel the itch to be able to keep receiving updates, like security updates and patches. If nothing's updating, it just sits there, and for a Linux user, unless it's updating, I can't feel comfortable to have something stay on my machine for a number of years and not be updated. That just doesn't feel right, and that's why I kind of like the rolling releases in a way, so that I know that next update I get, there's a reason why they've pushed an update, security patch or otherwise. And it's the same with iOS on your mobile phone. It's like, all right, it's a phone. You don't expect phones to update every week, but you do expect them to kind of update every year, perhaps. But it doesn't happen. It's like this phone here. I've had this Google phone for 3 years now, and it's still stuck on Android 10. It hasn't upgraded to the latest, for example.
And one day it stops updating. You. If they are too old, then they stop updating.
Stop
it
updating,
and you
yeah.
have like a
Yeah,
stone from the past.
yeah, exactly. So you end up having a brick more than anything else that doesn't do anything. But I'm still a lover of the flip phone. Love the flip phone. But
Yes.
I won't buy the new one. I will say that because you know
The Motorola one, you mean?
yes, exactly. Yeah, I don't know. I just don't feel comfortable with the whole curved screens just yet. I still feel quite nervous about them breaking and cracking and yeah, expensive to replace. Anyway, Joe, what was your first experience of Linux?
A long time ago, in the 90s, huh? I come from a yeah. We don't have a lot of money when I was a kid, and one day in the 90s I got a gift from a friend, like a very old, very scrappy computer with Windows on it. I think it was like Windows 95 or 94. I don't know what it was called. And the first thing I was done was like compressing Drive C. There was like a new tool where you can, like, for your data partition, you can compress it to put more files on, and I do it with OS. So it was like destroyed completely. And what else I could do? I install Linux. It was in time, I think Debian. Yeah. Since then, I never really use Windows again. I have to one time, like for work, but mostly till the 90s, I'm using Linux. It was in Slackware, yeah, and Aurochs. It was a distribution. They have like come with these magazines. That was a lot of years.
Lover of the cover disc. That's it. Because I've got a huge pile of Linux magazines, which I get delivered obviously monthly because I'm subscribed to them. Because I'm a lover of the cover disc. Just love it. I've got quite a pile of them here. So yeah. So one thing I do appreciate before I obviously install any of these or even try them out is the artwork on them, so you can see straight away, and it just encourages you to install it. I don't know, I'll give it a try. But yeah, so but the content in the magazines, I find I tend to skim through. I'm a skimmer, not a reader, but I will find an article that perhaps talks about the latest news, and I'll read that. But everything else, all the hints and tips, then I tend to ignore until I need them. So there's a pile of magazines there with lots of great articles in there that I've not really sat and properly read yet. But I love the cover disc. Okay. So in 3 words, then, to end on, in just 3 words, how would you best describe Endeavour OS? There's no TikTok.
You have 1 minute left.
Yeah. See, it's hard, isn't it? It's hard.
Yeah, it's very hard. Well, I have 1 word: community.
Mm-hmm.
This is
For me, community, usable, stable.
yes. I can't say that as a developer. Yeah, but it's stable in a way. Yes, I wonder myself sometimes how stable also the ISO and the way we are using it, because like the way how we use Calamaris is not what it meant to be. Huh? It's an offline installer, and we like hacking it to make the net installer out of it. So it still works very good. Stable.
Any thoughts, Brian?
Well, I would say indeed community. That's the first. Flexible. Well, it's not technically word, but how do you say it in one word?
Purple.
Own control. You're in control.
You're in control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And purple.
And purple.
Lovable, as you can see. Even I've made a mic flag out of you. It's just perfect. Brilliant. Thanks very much, gentlemen. I really have enjoyed this chat with you, and obviously, as you know, offline as well, that I'm a very lovable user of your distribution, and have no disregard to it, no bad words, and everyone else in the chat, I'm just having a quick through here, and they're all enjoying using it from the looks of things, which is great. Nobody's come across any questions that have not already been asked your way, so that's perfect. So brilliant. So I suppose at this stage it's quite hard to ask when can we expect the next ISO. I'm going to say when it's ready, and I'm obviously in agreement with that. So yeah, there's no need to answer that, gentlemen, because when it's ready, it's ready. Simple as that. Exactly. Anything you guys want to ask me whilst we're here?
I have a lot, but they're not Linux related.
Line of duty?
Exactly. What do you think of Visual?
Yeah. Save that for offline, Brian.
Well, indeed. Well, just to explain it, Robin and I are big fans of BBC drama, like Line of Duty and Vigil, and we often DM each other. So that's it. And Vigil is a series, the latest series from the BBC. It's incredible.
Yeah, it is. It is. I can seriously see that up for a BAFTA forthcoming.
Absolutely.
And probably a series 2 if that goes well. I mean, still confess, I've still got episodes 4, 5, and 6 to watch. I still don't know the full outcome of the story yet, so no spoilers there. But I've got my new iPad now, so I can watch them quietly
on iPlayer. Yeah.
Yeah, on iPlayer. Perfect. Joe, have you got any favourites out there? Do you have any British content where you are?
British content, Monty Python, huh?
Monty Python, yeah.
Yes, when I was a teenager, I watched a lot of Monty Python.
And still,
but I have no time for watching series. No. Only sometimes I do, but nothing specific. No.
And I'm a lover of on demand. I just don't have time to sit in front of the telly anymore. But I will watch it when I want to watch it, basically. And I'm grateful that there are tools out there, including iPlayer, where you can just download the video, take it away with you, and watch it on your commute, which is perfect. I just love doing that. But it's and I'm going to admit this now, and it's not an embarrassment as such, because there are some people out there that still do it. But I love old TV. I really do. And we have a channel over here called Drama, and we basically, that is like my number one channel. I will just constantly watch like old episodes of Holby City, Casualty. What's the other one? Even Bergerac is on at the moment.
Really?
Yes. So they're currently showing series 9, which is from 1990, I think. But yeah, I didn't know Bergerac dated as far back as like 1981 or some early 80s.
84, 85,
It's
like that.
really early, yeah. But the theme tune just stays in my head. I can't get it out. But loving the fact that we can obviously still watch this stuff even today. They do marvellous work, like digitising all this stuff. They really are, and showing it on TV. And just recently, I upgraded the TV to 4K. So we've got a 42-inch 4K TV now, with all the smart apps on there. And I got FreeSat installed as well, so we could watch a few more channels in HD. All I can say is wow. really wow. It's just like if you watch sort of standard definition channels like drama, the quality's not that great. But you put on a HD channel and you're just wowed straight away. And even the older programs like Space 1999 or I don't know Joe 90 or something like that. You watch that in HD on that 4K via Netflix or Amazon Prime or whatever it is, and you can now see the fine detail. You can because you used to seeing graininess like so you can tell it was film, but they've tidied it up so much now. You can tell the studio from location. It's that detailed. I'm just mesmerized. Just love it. I really do. Anyway, that's me. But I'm a retro man. And speaking of retro, I still have my radio shows out there somewhere online that's hiding in the distance. But thanks very much, gentlemen. I really do appreciate you taking time out this Saturday afternoon, and for everyone that's joined us and submitted questions. We can take more questions offline, so if you do want to submit a question that we haven't already asked the guys, then you can post them in the comments, and either I will answer them or we'll get one of the guys here to answer them for you. There's the Telegram group, and don't forget the wiki and also the forum as well. So if you've got an issue, the forum is the first place to go, really, to be perfectly honest. You can ask a question. I mean, are you seeing many duplications, like of the same question being asked in multiple posts? Are you seeing that a lot?
Yes. And I'm still amazed that the community is so patient and very friendly to still answer them. I mean, kudos to the entire community for their patience.
And they always post links to the original post anyway, which is good, and it's good for your SEO as well because it keeps them bouncing back and forth, which is good. So is it forum.endeavoros.com? Is it? Yep. So that's the place to go. And then there's the wiki if you're having issues installing like NVIDIA, like I did. And then and OS Prober, come to think of it as well, with the grab. I've just spotted a page there as well.
Next release will detect your Windows again.
Perfect. That's good to hear. Love that. Thanks, Joe. Brilliant.
Mac OS maybe also.
No.
Manjaro, Garuda, everything.
Perfect. Brilliant. Thanks, guys, for your company, and thank you for joining us here today. And we'll catch you again in another live Q&A. And don't forget the channel here as well has other live walkthroughs as well. So I'm obviously I haven't done a video recently, but there is the release of the Ubuntu coming this week, which is I think we've got all the flavors coming this week as well, I think. So expect to see lots of hype around the internet on that on Thursday, I believe it's coming out. Yeah, release day. I've got it here on a diary, 14th of October, Ubuntu 21.10 release day. So that's imminent this week. So probably expect a couple of videos from me as I am quite happily at the moment testing Ubuntu Mate. And there's part of reason for that as well, because I want to be able to see what the latest version of Mate looks as vanilla as well. Because I've been using Ubuntu Mate and I just love the look and feel and the changes that they've made there. Works with Wayland now out of the box, and it just works. And I'm very, very impressed by what I'm seeing so far in this 21.10 release, which is coming this week. So probably expect a video from me on that. No doubt. I'm not going to touch on Windows 11. Goodbye. No. Windows 11.
No need to.
No need
I
to.
have it.
No.
Never use it.
Don't.
But it have round corners, huh?
Yeah, exactly. No. Sorry, I can get all that from KDE. That's fine.
Yeah.
So I'm quite happy, but I'm glad I'm on a machine here that won't accept Windows 11. So that's good. I'm not going to get that pushed to me. But if you do get that push notification, I would advise, and this is just personal advice, wait a bit longer, because there's probably going to be a lot of patches on top of this week's release. So I can definitely see that. So if you've got newer hardware that's pushing you Windows 11 at the moment, just let it sit there in your updater in your taskbar. Just don't do anything with it. Just wait, really. Or don't install it at all. Defer it, that's what I say. Stick with Linux, because Linux is great. Linux is fun. And enjoy. So thanks, everybody, and we'll see you again soon. Bye now.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Just waiting for the stream